Hey guys, welcome back to LS Vintage Design. I hope you're having an amazing day. Today, Sam and Henry and I are here to give you great ideas about a vintage staycation. I'm going to give you ideas of what we would do for a vintage staycation, and then I'm going to pick some places I would go if I lived in Chicago and was doing a staycation, if I lived somewhere in South Carolina, and if I lived in Arizona. So come on and let's get into this video. Don't forget to leave me a comment. Have you ever done a vintage staycation before? Let's go. Mwah. Okay guys, so what would a vintage staycation look like for me at home? I thought about this long and hard. And one, of course, it would mean going to all the antique malls in my area that I love, which I will list all the stores down below. And I've put together a few places in different cities that if I lived there, I would love to go to as well. Some of them I've actually been to. But anyway, I would go to all the antique stores in my area. I would go to some of the homestead museums. And when I say museums, I mean the homestead. Like there's the Perry Homestead. And it's from the 1800s. Everything in there is vintage. So I definitely go check that out. And a lot of small towns in Texas have very, very small little museums dedicated to the town itself. And they would have a lot of vintage items in there. Of course, not to buy, but to enjoy. So I would definitely go see a few of those. Maybe some old courthouses. And again, in Texas, there are a lot of old courthouses still standing. And you may not be able to go in them, but you could definitely go see them. And the towns they're in are within a driving distance. You could go for the day and come back. So it wouldn't have to just be in my immediate area either. As long as I can go in my car and sleep in my bed at night, it's all good, and I would definitely do it. So I would see vintage or old courthouses. I would do a tour of those. I would see small town museums. I would see homesteads. We have a lot of forts, if there's any within that criteria of I can drive there but sleep in my bed at night. I would go see the forts. And definitely the antique malls. But that's what a vintage staycation would look like to me. Now, what if I lived in Chicago? Where would I go? I would go to Lincoln Antique Mall, Broadway Antique Mall, and LaGrange Park Antique Mall, all in Chicago. In South Carolina, I again would go to the old towns and look at the vintage courthouses, maybe some of the old homes that you could see driving around town. Then I would go to Old Mill Antique Mall, Palmetto Peddlers Antique Mall, Savvy Scavengers Antique Mall, and Somerville Antique Mall. Now, in Utah, I would go see Capital City Antique Mall, Treasures Antique Mall, South, Abby's Antique Mall, and Gypsy Emporium. I would also, if there's old courthouses, old buildings that you can tour, old houses you can tour. I know Nashville has a lot of old houses you can tour. They have the Grand Ole Opry. Anything that is old, vintage, if I'm doing a vintage staycation, that is somewhere where I will go. And it just, like I said multiple times before, it just has to fit the rule where I can drive there during the day, but be home to sleep in my bed at night. So what are some locations in your area that you would recommend to someone if they are from your area and want to do a vintage staycation? I know in East Texas, Rusk has a little museum about the history of Rusk and the people that lived around there. That would be interesting. They have a footbridge, the longest footbridge that's very old. That would be something because it would fit in my age requirement and it can be done in a day. What about where you live? Leave me some suggestions below in case I maybe don't do a staycation in your area, but I'm ever there to vacation. So guys, what are you doing this year? Are you doing a staycation or a vacation? Or nothing at all? Take care. I will see you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.